Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here. Today is my second shelf of my small bookshelves, which, as you know, I have a large bookshelf, a small bookshelf and a little bookshelf. This one, like I say, is the small bookshelf. This has 3 shelves on. I really enjoy these shelves, actually. I really like these ones. These are behind my door in my bedroom. And yeah, I'm going to talk you through all of the books on this shelf today. So first off we have Good Me, Bad Me by Ali Land. I got this in a chocolate and a book unboxing that I don't know if I did the video and it's still on my channel, or I have definitely got it from that book box though. This one follows a girl whose mother is a serial killer, and her trial is coming up, and I think it's kind of about her potentially feeling like this might happen, that she might have the similar traits. I'm not 100% sure totally what this is about. I've heard really good things about this book, and it's not very long either. It's quite a short book, so I feel like this one could be quite a good read, and yeah, I'm looking forward to picking this one up. Next up we have The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. Kate Morton is a new favourite author from me. I read a few of her books already and I'm really looking forward to picking up some more. This one, as most of Kate Morton's books take place in multiple timelines, this one switches between the 1930s, the 1960s and the present, which I believe in this is 2011. And this follows Laurel, who when she was 16 years old witnesses something out of her, looking out of her childhood treehouse, and it's kind of stayed with her until the present day. So yeah, very much looking forward to this. Like I said, I really love Kate Morton. She does historical fiction very, very well. Next up is Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. Owen King is Stephen King's son, and this is the first one of the books that I will have read by both of them. I'm very excited to see if I can tell the difference between just Stephen King and when he's writing with his son. This is about a world where all the women suddenly fall asleep and they are wrapped in this sort of cocoon-like gauze, and if the gauze is disturbed or if they are awoken, they become suddenly crazy. And it's kind of about how people deal with that. I think this also is partly set in a prison, a women's prison, where all of the inmates have fallen foul of this particular sort of curse, and except one of them. So yeah, very much looking forward to this. I really enjoy Stephen King in general, as you all know. This one is a 700 or 800 page book, so I'm looking forward to reading this, but I feel like it could take me a while when I do. Next up is My Husband's Wife by Jane Corey. I recently bought another Jane Corey book, so I'm very much looking forward to picking up some of her work. I believe this is a courtroom thriller style book. This follows a woman who, when she gets married, she decides to leave her past life behind, and but one of her first murder cases as a lawyer is she is very drawn to the man who has supposedly committed the murders, and she suddenly becomes a bit intertwined with him. I don't know anything else about this, but I'm very much looking forward to this. This sounds absolutely amazing. Next up is Wild Like Me by Louise Pentland, and this is the first of a trilogy, which I believe Louise has now completed. I think there's I don't know what the other ones are called, but I know there's 2 more, and I think the 3rd one has recently come out. Louise Pentland, if you don't know, used to be called Sprinkle of Glitter, but she is a YouTuber and she's amazing. I absolutely love her so much. I've watched her since I first started watching YouTube a long time before I started watching BookTube, so yes, definitely one I'm looking forward to reading. I wish that I'd already read this, to be honest. I feel like this is definitely a book that has been on my shelf for too long, so yeah, need to get to this, but I'm looking forward to it when I do. Next up, we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, which is the 2nd book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I've read the first one and really enjoyed it. I've heard that the second one is the best one of the 3, but I also think that this is quite mixed opinion. So yeah, I bought the second one just after I read the first one, so would like to continue on with the series eventually. Next up is The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. I don't know really anything about this. I was recommended this by one of my in real life friends, and yeah, so I decided to pick it up when I saw it in the charity shop. I believe the only thing I know about this is that it follows a girl who I think it's a white girl, and she lives in South Carolina, and her only friend is a black servant. And one day something happens, and there's some racial tension, I believe, and her friend is arrested and beaten, and so I think they like run away. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. This sounds like it could be kind of along the same lines as like The Colour Purple and that type of thing, so yeah, that sounds like a really good book. Next up we have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is another one I got from the chocolate and a book unboxings. This one actually is a retelling of a fairy tale. I think it's a Russian fairy tale. So I don't know anything too much about this. I know that Charlie loves this book, and I know that she said to me she wasn't sure whether it would be my kind of thing, so I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I also think that it's really important to read different books than kind of what you think that you're going to enjoy, so maybe I will like this, who knows. Then we have The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. This is another historical fiction by Kate Morton. As I said before, I love her. This is a book, I believe, I don't know too much about this again. This one is another one set in multiple timelines, and I believe it's about our main character, don't know her name, who has always been quite distant from her mother, but then a letter is delivered and she starts to realise that maybe there was a reason for that. I think it's about her mother when she was evacuated at the age of 13, and it's got something to do with the castle. I don't know anything else about it, but again, another exciting one. And all of Kate Morton's books are huge, so I feel like you just have to kind of like know that going in. We then have The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury. This one is a book about a princess who has the touch of poison, so if she touches you, you die. And it's kind of about what happens when she is trying to rule her kingdom, I guess. I'm very much looking forward to this. This sounds really, really interesting, and I believe this is a YA fantasy, so something a bit different, and this cover is absolutely gorgeous, so yes, I'm very excited. Next up we have The Heavenly Italian Ice Cream Shop by Abby Clements. This one looks like a perfect summer read, so I feel like I should be reading this right now. This is about a woman named Anna and her husband, I think, named Matteo, who decide to open an ice cream shop in Italy until his family get involved and things start to take a bit of a turn. And yes, very, very much looking forward to reading something a bit different for me. This is an adult contemporary, and yes, it looks delightful. Then we have The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, which is the third and final book in the Mistborn trilogy. I read the first book last year and absolutely loved it. It was fantastic, and I'm really glad that I actually own all three of them now. This is an amazing cover as well. This is a high fantasy book which is about metals, so people in the world can have the power of metals depending on how they ingest them, and yeah, it's really wonderful. I really love this, and the characters are so like alive to me, so very much looking forward to continuing on with the series. Then we have The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, which is a book set in the 1970s in Afghanistan, and I believe this is a really hard-hitting book. It touches a lot of very difficult topics. I believe there is a male rape scene in this book, which is apparently very, very difficult to read. At school, one of the, there was two sort of sets for English, and one of them read The Kite Runner. It was not the one I was in, so I'd heard a lot of people talking about this obviously, but it was not something that I personally read, so yeah, very much looking forward to this, and I do own another Khaled Hosseini book too, so I need to get on with reading them. Then we have The Scold's Bridal by Minette Walters. I've read a Minette Walters book before and I really, really enjoyed it. This is a crime novel which is about a woman who's found dead, seemingly having committed suicide, but she has a Scold's Bridal over her face, and then they realise that her diaries have gone missing, so it's kind of about what happened, was she murdered, and the horrendous things that happened to her before she died. So yes, this sounds like it could be really fun, and I really enjoy Minette Walters' writing. Next up is Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. This says a memoir of a family and culture in crisis. This talks about obviously the hillbilly sort of way of life, I guess, in America. This very much talks about the white working class in America, and it supposedly is a great insight into Trump and Brexit and to why people have felt the need to vote for that kind of thing. So I feel like this is going to be quite a political book, but I still think I'm going to enjoy it, and it's going to be a bit of an insight for me because I find this to be incredibly, incredibly relevant. We then have How to Be a Woman by Caitlin Moran. I've heard amazing, amazing things about this. I've seen an interview with Caitlin Moran and she's so funny and personable. So I feel like this is going to be really good. It's apparently very funny. It talks about all the questions that apparently women have always wanted to ask and have never actually asked. This is supposedly part memoir, part rant, which just sounds like it could be hilarious. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to reading this little memoir. We then have The Colorado Kid by Stephen King. My dad bought me this book from I think it was Morrison's. I talked about how I wanted to read more Stephen King books, and this is one he just picked up for me. This one is actually an illustrated edition, which I don't think any of my Stephen King copies are, so that could be interesting. This one is about a man, I think, who's found on a beach, and only these two journalists, like children, have kind of been digging up any clues, and then they only realise who the man is after like a year of his body being found. So yeah, I'm interested about this one. I know that Nicole recently read this and didn't like it, so we shall see what I think. Next up is Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This one is set in the 1960s in Nigeria, and this follows 3 main characters. I don't know anything else about it. I love reading about Nigeria, as I've mentioned before in videos. One of my best friends is Nigerian, and I really enjoy reading about the Nigerian culture and about people that live there. I read the Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, definitely something I want to get on to reading is one of her novels. Next up we have The Fantan Players by Julian Lees. This is a book that I saw on someone's channel a long time ago, and I honestly couldn't even tell you what it's about. It's apparently set in Russia, Scotland and Hong Kong in the 1930s, 40s and 50s, and other than that I have no clue. Like I said, I saw this a long time ago. I believe this is historical fiction. I couldn't tell you what the ins and outs are though, so yeah, when I read this one, obviously I'll let you know. I then have a really lovely copy of Insurgent by Veronica Roth. This is the second book to the Divergent trilogy. I've read Divergent and I need to get on with reading the other 2 in the series, Insurgent and Allegiant. If you don't know, Divergent follows a world where everybody is sort of separated into like clans, houses, I don't know what they're called. Traits, I can't remember, and yeah, it kind of follows that. I don't really want to say anything else because, like I said, I don't know anything about this one specifically being a second book. Next up, I'm afraid there's another book that I have absolutely no idea what it's about. This is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. I remember seeing this on lots of people's channels. It was on, mostly I saw it on Lauren from Lauren in the Books channel a long time ago. She read this and loved it. This cover is absolutely gorgeous, and the inside of this as well is equally as gorgeous. So yeah, I remember picking this up because I saw it, but I couldn't even tell you what it's about. Next up we have Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is about a girl who is apparently allergic to everything, and she has basically been in her house for 17 years because she can't go outside because she's allergic, and then a boy moves in next door and she wants to get to know him, and it's kind of about that. I don't know, I've heard some very mixed things about this book. I do know this was made into a movie, so perhaps it's something I could read the book and then watch the movie afterwards. Again, I really love this cover, but yes, we shall soon see how I feel about it when I read it. Next up we have Shatter Me by Tahara Maffi. This is Tahara Maffi's debut novel, I believe, and this is the first one in the Shatter Me series. I don't really know anything other than the fact that this is about a girl whose touch is lethal, and yes, again, don't know anything else. Very much looking forward to this though. I feel like lots of people talk about this book, and yeah, I still don't really know what the synopsis is. The penultimate book on this shelf is one everybody will know, obviously. This is Robin Hood by Henry Gilbert. This is in Wordsworth Classic Edition, which I really enjoy these sort of kids' classics, these books. Robin Hood robs Peter to pay Paul, I believe is the kind of phrase, and yeah, don't know how the book will go. I've never read it. I've seen a lot of adaptations movie-wise, but not ever read the book. And then lastly on this shelf is Happy Birthday by Danielle Steele. You all know how much I love Danielle Steele's novels. This one just says 3 people, 3 birthdays, 3 turning points. So this very much talks about 3 different people who turn a different age, I believe, in America, and I don't know really anything else about this, but this is definitely a book that I feel like it would be good to read around your birthday, but seeing as mine's just gone, it may have to wait till next year. There you have it, guys. That is all of the books on the second shelf of my small bookshelf tour. I will link down below the other book video tours that I've done, and I'll also link the overview that I did at the beginning. I'd also like to do my shout out today, and my shout out for this video is going to be for Chelsea from the channel Chelsea Palmer. I really enjoy Chelsea's channel. She does lots of wonderful videos and she's definitely very personable, so I think if you like reading you'll enjoy her videos very much. So go and check out her and give her some love. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye guys!